How about a little good news today? In this excerpt from our Restore It All podcast, I explain how our hosting provider, LiquidWeb, really saved the day. If you like it, make sure to check out the rest of the podcast by searching for Restore It All wherever you listen to podcasts. Hope you like it.
Could restore it all and rescue me from pain. You had my file inside your head. You erased it. How insane.
And so I reached out to LiquidWeb, my hosting provider, and I've always loved the support that I've gotten from them. And when I've needed to do something that, again, they do it all the time. I'm not a day-to-day sysadmin. I don't want to mess up my own system. And so I would reach out to them. I was like, you know what? I got to do the thing with the thing. I got to, upgrade PHP, or I got to, increase the buffer size of something. And I'm like, I just fire. It's just easier and safer for me at this point to fire off a ticket to somebody. Some stuff I'll do myself, but if it's something that I'm not super confident in, I will reach out to the LiquidWeb folks and they will make it happen.
Yeah. You're like, if I have to Google this, I probably should not be doing this.
Exactly. Even if I do have a backup, I can take the host out for a while, right?
Exactly.
And so I fired off. I was like, hey, I got this thing. I've uploaded the SQL file. It's sitting there, and I just need someone to restore it to the database. And I got an email back pretty quickly from a Sarah Satyan at LiquidWeb, and she emailed me at 10:34 a.m. And yeah, this was January 10th, by the way. So this was like 2 weeks ago. She emailed me at 10:34 a.m. said, "Let me take a look at it. Give me some time to investigate, and I'll let you know." And then at 11:01, she said, "I have now restored the database from the backup you have provided. Please do verify the same from your side and let us know if you need any further assistance."
That's awesome customer service.
Yeah. So less than 20 minutes later, 15 minutes from start to finish, they got my database back up and running. And no, LiquidWeb is not hosting. LiquidWeb is not sponsoring. I just really like these guys. And excuse the sexist term. I like these folks. Sarah is I'm assuming not a guy. So thank you very much, Sarah, for your assistance. And I hope you actually hear this episode. So yeah. So I think there's a lot that we can learn from this.
And the other thing I want to also point out is, even though you've been in this space for a while, Curtis, right? We all sort of make mistakes, or we all sort of go through these learnings, right? It's one of those things that, like, practice makes better, and hopefully you don't have to practice doing restores a lot, but in case it's there, right, you just need to be able to get it done.
Yeah, unzipping, easy peasy. Untarring, easy peasy. Command line restore of a single table to MySQL, especially a cPanel hosted MySQL, which means that the database name and the password is weird. If you've never done cPanel, you don't know what I'm talking about. But the database, I know the database as, let's say, Persona, but the real database name is not that. It's something else. So I need to know that. So that was complicated enough for me to go, I think I'm gonna put in a ticket. And Sarah came to the rescue. So shout out to Sarah.
So everything's back up and running. I think we've learned a bunch, right? Not only applying the
Backup Central is back up.
And if you can't find a link to this podcast, you will know why.
Exactly.
Cool. Any other takeaways, Curtis? Things you would want to tell our listener?
Man.
Yeah.
I mean, I think even though I had to reach out to somebody else for help, I think it shows that we practice what we preach here, right? That I believe in the 3-2-1 rule. I believe in periodic backups that use the tools that are provided. I minimize as much as possible customizing and scripting. The Google thing to me is an add-on, right? It's just a like I did it just because I could do it.
Mhm.
And but and also I did it in a parallel way, in such a
Yeah.
way that I could have actually edited, because the cPanel provides a script that they update over time to do all the backups. I could have actually hacked that script and done it. It's just a Bourne shell script. I
Yeah.
could have done that, but I chose to write a separate script that just works outside. And by the way, if that script fails, in addition to the fact that it's no big deal because it's an
Yeah,
extra copy,
yeah.
and the fact that I would get that script should yell at me when it doesn't work. But number three, you know what else will happen if that
Huh.
script fails?
What?
The mount point where the fuse mounted file system comes in will get filled up with the copy.
Oh. Yeah.
Because the script, the
Assumes,
cPanel script, it doesn't know what I'm doing.
Yep.
I told it to copy it into /Google,
Yep.
and
Google's
it
a
goes,
local
okay.
drive. Yep.
It reminds me of 100 years ago. We used to have, and I think I've told this story on the podcast, but we used to have I cut my teeth on what were called AT&T System 5 3B2s.
Mhm.
And they had a single, their internal tape drive was a Quick 80 tape drive, which was 80 megabytes and not quick. And it was QIC, right? We had I had 7 of these 3B2s. We had a single 8mm exabyte 8200 drive, and that was the only thing that we could do a full backup on. The internal drives could do incremental backups because the full backups were too big.
Too big.
So we had one tape drive, and we used something called RFS, which was the predecessor to NFS.
Mhm.
But it had a feature that NFS doesn't have, and that was you could remote mount a
Tape.
device,
Mm.
right? And so we had a cron job. We had 7 systems, 7 days a week, right?
Yep.
So each night a different host would remote mount that thing. And sometimes the remote mount wouldn't work. Maybe it didn't get unmounted from the last one, whatever, right? And so what would happen is the dev tape, whatever the file
would be
was,
just a local mount point.
It would just be a local. Well, it would be a file, and it would back it up to that file, and the root file system would fill up. so we wrote a script that we were like, okay, do a -F on this thing, and try to do we issued some tape commands to it
and see if it works or not.
Yeah, and see if it works. And I think I even I remember massaging the script over time, and I remember actually I would do a tar to the device, and then I would say, and then I would do I would do a DU on the file, and was the file any bigger? If the file was bigger, then it didn't work.
Yep.
The things we did.
Work. Exactly.
Yeah. So anyway. Well,
I just want to say thanks
for being my interviewer.
Well, I also want to say thank you for sharing your story, Curtis. I know it's hard sometimes to get people to come on this podcast and tell our listeners what works, what doesn't work, the mistakes they might have made.
Not
saying you did any.
If my pain can help anyone else.
No, but it was a good story. Thank you, Curtis, for joining the podcast.
You know what? As I like to say, I live to serve.
No, I think the better thing is you practice what you preach.
I practice what I preach. I eat my own dog food. I drink the Kool-Aid, although that is a really bad history behind that term. So thanks, Prasanna, for being my my interviewer this year.
This was fun, Curtis. Maybe next time I'll do it again.
All right. Well,
and for all the listeners,
yep. And remember to subscribe so that you can restore it all. Apparently.